Hi, it's Paris from EpicReviewGuys, and it was 6 weeks ago that we set up the Chia Chef's Garden from the Chia Pet People, and as you can see, everyone's growing nicely, except this guy still hasn't given me any tomatoes. Maybe it'll take a little longer. Today, though, is the day that we take them and transplant them into the backyard garden. We're also, while we're back there, going to do a quick follow-up on the Squirrel Buster Bird Feeder, our Hummingbird Feeder, and the My Spy Birdhouse.
Epic Review Guys.
And briefly, before we get to the backyard garden, here's what we were growing. Tomatoes, jalapenos, and sweet peppers. I'll put up in the corner of this video a link to the video from 6 weeks ago in case you're interested in seeing more about the Chia Chef's Garden and how to get these little guys started. Well, here in Central Texas, we are supposed to be past the day of the last frost, but with the climate the way it is, I'm not counting on it for sure. We have some covers for these if need be. Here are the rows we're going to put these into. We also were over at the Home Depot store yesterday and picked up some strawberries, and for the first time we're going to try onions. We call this our backyard garden, but squirrels call it the local buffet, and so we have a lot of issues with them eating everything up before it comes in. We're hoping that the onions being mostly underground might help. We'll see how that goes this year. Looks like there are a good 20 or 25 tomato plants in here. Now normally when they get to be an inch or so tall, you thin them out. You want to end up with just 3 plants. That way they can stay in the pot longer and stay in the house longer. But since we're ready to put them outside after just 6 weeks, I'm going to see if I can get all of these plants in this row. If you were wondering if they had a lot more growing room, I would say not. Already root bound at the bottom. Talk about a local buffet. I don't know if you can see or if I can show you right here in the center, right there. We've already got a grasshopper waiting for me to put these in so he can come munch on them. Here are the tomato plants laid out. I did notice several more grasshoppers, and I'm wondering if I didn't dig them up, if maybe they weren't buried in the soil for winter, and because they're very sluggish, they're not running away from me, so I'm thinking they're just asleep until I turned this soil a few minutes ago. The other thing I learned is I should have thinned these tomatoes out to just 2-3 plants because their roots were all intertwined. So in the process of taking them apart to plant them with some distance between them, I had to break off most of the longer roots, so they're all starting at a disadvantage. So here's the row of tomatoes. If they survive the squirrels in the first few days out here, I suppose I'll have to stake them or put the cage over them for them to grow up, but let's see how they do before investing that time. Jalapenos didn't come in quite as thick, maybe 15 or so of them. Jalapeno roots also made it to the very bottom of the pot. By the way, the tomatoes came in, they germinated, I would say, within about 5 days. Within a week, they were already sticking up through the soil. This came in next to jalapenos, maybe about 5 days later. The sweet peppers, though, were very late. I would say it was another week or 10 days before they showed any sign of life. I was getting about to the point where I was going to just plow them under and put in those other seeds that came with the pack. Jalapenos are in. Looks like I'm going to need another row, though, for the sweet peppers. I've used up 2 whole rows already. By the way, with the grasshoppers, I've noticed we have 3 colors of them. They're green, yellow, and gray. And the green ones seem to be the biggest ones. I'm guessing they're the ones that are ripe. Here are the sweet peppers that came in last and didn't grow nearly as many plants. This came apart as I was pulling it out of the pot, so it didn't quite get to the point of being root bound. They could have gone for a little bit longer. The sweet pepper plants are in. I think I'm going to need to put in a few more rows here, though, before I can get to my strawberries and onions. But that's a good thing, to have an abundance of things to plant. I'm also going to put some things in a few hanging pots just to keep them out of the squirrel's way and see if that helps. I admit, kind of miss my topsy-turvy tomato planter, topsy-turvy strawberry planter. They didn't survive the winter too well, but they worked fairly well last year. I'll put links up to those videos if you'd like to see how we did last year growing tomatoes and strawberries. And we're going to water this all in with has-to-go plant food. I'll do a separate video on this and using it in the garden, put that on our Epic Reviews home channel. If you'd like to check that out, I'll put a link up to that as well. Now let me give you that quick update on the bird feeders and the birdhouse. This is the Squirrel Buster Mini. We reviewed this a couple times last year. It works by when the squirrels get their weight on it, whether here or whether they grab onto this, any weight pulls it down, closes off where they get to eat. We have some video from last year of a very frustrated squirrel trying to get into this. Maybe I'll repost that. This has worked really well, but the birds are emptying it now in a day. We've had a really weird winter, like I guess a lot of places have, and it warmed up, the bugs all came out, it froze again, killed all the bugs, warmed up, the remaining bugs came out, froze again. So I think the birds are in a bad way this year, so we're planning to get the regular squirrel buster, which is a larger one and holds, I think, about 3 times as much food. So we may add that to our collection out here. Hummingbird feeder is right at, I think there's been a little evaporation, but haven't had the hummingbirds come yet. They usually come in mid-March, and this is what, the 12th or 13th, so hopefully we'll see them soon. Now about the My Spy bird feeder. There is still nobody in there, and the only time I see birds even come near it is they're waiting for a turn at the bird feeder. They perch on top of this and wait, but nobody's had any inclination to go inside. Another issue that is concerning is that we have the suction cups and the tape, but because the suction cup pushes the birdhouse away from the window, it's pulled that double-sided tape loose in all the locations. So now we're back to just having it held by the suction cups, which really worries me that you get some weight in there and you get a cold day that contracts that rubber, that the thing could fall off. Not quite sure what I'm going to do about that. I might put some wire and hooks up above and then drill a couple holes in the roof of this to hang it from. So if worse comes to worse and it starts to fall off, at least it won't fall to the ground. So we are really glad that spring has finally arrived. We'll give you garden updates as the months go by. All the products we've mentioned here, if you're curious about them, we have links to them down below. Hope spring arrives for you soon too.
Shopping is easy when you know what to buy. At EpicReviewGuys, we give it a try. What does the fox buy? Nobody knows, but before he goes shopping, he watches our video.